Welcome back to the show. I'm excited today to introduce Chen-Yang and Jianshu of HEXASpec. They are recent winners of the Rice Lilly pitch competition a few months back. Excited to have them here. They're also members of the Nexus. Why don't you guys tell us what you do and where the origins of the technology comes from?
Hi, I'm Chen-Yang, and our technology is mainly from our lab. And so for me, I just when I apply for the PhD, I just think that like the material is a magic thing, and I just imagine that developing and finding new material is kind of like a treasure hunting,
Hmm.
and it's good. We just got a treasure so from our lab, and it's always good to develop these like the material and just sell our material and to make it to like a new applications in like advanced packaging industry. Currently it's very important in semiconductor part because the GPU and AI emerging, and so everything is very important about the advanced packaging. And fortunately, and we have that like this chance to apply our own labs material and to like this new like era of the AI.
Hmm.
So I'll add something. We're all material scientists and PhD student from Rice University. And we work on the heat management of chips, especially the semiconductor areas for AI computing here.
Hmm.
As we know that AI is becoming a very sexy topic. But at the same time, the energy and greenhouse gas emissions are a huge concern. And we're at the time we're supposed to give some revolution for the industry to change their materials,
Hmm.
because we call them packaging materials, which is all the touchable area of the semiconductors chips here. You can feel it, and that part the material hasn't really changed for the past 60 years, and it has very low thermal conductivities and very poor protections. And for the future application of immersion cooling, like advanced cooling technology, this material is too old for that and is not designed to be suitable for those kind of application here. So what we are doing is we're trying to figure out the next generation of packaging materials. We have the technology and we have the technique to make this material into the final products, which can be directly adopted by the industry customers here.
Good. And then just like bring this down to earth. Like I get this problem with my laptop,
Yeah.
and there's a point where, and we keep our house warm. Like I like it at 29 degrees, which I think is crazy for most people. But what happens is my computer does not like it that warm. And at some point it just slows down and just gets really hot in my lap. And then I realize I have to put it to sleep for like 10 minutes to get it going again. And it's that heat management problem. Like literally the computer slows down when it's too hot.
Yes.
And that's obviously not good if you're trying to do very computationally intensive things. And they're doing that to protect the chip. I think everyone has an Apple phone. You kind of experience the same thing. It throttles and slows down when the battery gets older or when it starts to overheat. When I'm driving, my phone constantly reminds me that it doesn't like to have like Android mode on or Android Auto on because it's starting to overheat. So this is a very practical, real problem for us as end consumers. But you can only imagine it's much more impactful for an enterprise customer who has to really think about heat when they're running these things 24/7. Right?
Yes, that's a very good point, actually. So heat is the most common form of waste. So for all kinds of application, you'll generate heat in some way of that. Like the iPhone here, especially when we're living in Texas here, temperature's crazy. Every time I put it on my, I was driving here and put it on my car, like front show, and it says like, oh, you have the cell phone has to be shut down for a while because it's overheated. That's a huge problem. And this actually caused financial issue for the industry too. So several years ago, for Samsung and Apple, for iPhone here, especially for iPhone 6s, right? That's the generation. So Samsung and TSMC, they are the main manufacturer for the chips here, the iPhone chips. But however, Samsung has a little bit poor heat management design of their chips, which result a 4 degrees Celsius lower temperature. It's actually a lot because our human temperature is like 37-ish. So 4, you can feel the difference here. And then customers are not happy with it. And this 4-degree actually give an extra 100 minutes battery life for those chips manufactured by TSMC. And ever since that, Samsung pretty much lost all of their iPhone orders, and TSMC get the monopolized for this game here again. So heat management is a huge issue and is everywhere in our life here.
And I would say like thermal issue is more and more important in the AI chips, because currently, like for the future AI chips, you need to stack the chips one layer by one layer. So the hotspot just accumulation, and there is no way to just dissipate the heat with the currently design. So it's a time to change to new material.
Yes. So let's get into the material science of this then. What are the prevalent materials that are used today? You spoke about thermal conductivity, and you also meant you said something about like other protective properties.
Yes.
Like talk about what materials used today and what new revolutionary material you have that's going to be better.
It's a very wonderful question. So right now, the 60-year old-fashioned things are mainly, they call EMC, epoxy molding compound here. So they have polymer binders and also kind of ceramic feeders here. In general is aluminum oxide and silica. So we can think of them as silica is like SiO2 is the sand. So it's like sand and glue. And those are not like famous for thermal conductivity, right? Imagine you're standing on the Florida beach here. Would you feel for the heat here?
So to bring this back, so like if anyone's ever opened up like an electrical widget, there's like it's like plastic or a goo that kind of covers everything else, right? And it's solid.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what we're talking about as the filler?
That's when you have a chip, you see the black part.
The black part. So it's actually the black part. Like if you think of
Covering
your iconic like
Yes.
ASIC chip,
Yes.
it's really the cover. So that's different from the
Yeah.
other kind of material, but we still call it a filler.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
It's like a covering. It covers the chip.
yes,
right?
you can think of it as a protection of the chips.
Yeah.
Everything covers all the design and the value part inside. That's called the packaging.
and it needs to be electrically insulating so that you don't short it out. But generally things that are electrically insulating are also thermally insulating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a very good one. So we know good thermal conductivity is normally metal, right? Copper, gold. But if you use those kind of things in the packaging here, they might have leakage issue. So they might short the circuit too. It will be a huge disaster for the chips here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to find a material which is thermally conductive, but at the same time is also electrically insulated. So it won't conduct the current here. And they also demonstrate very high mechanical performance too. So work as a protection here. As my co-founder mentioned that, as we stack layer transistors on top of it, the outer part need to support the whole structures. So the mechanical property has to be strong enough too.
Yeah, and this is why you can't literally just throw like thermal paste on everything, because the paste itself doesn't provide structure.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the main properties of the materials here. So how to find material with this kind of like unique features here? And our material, it's not a brand new material, it's all boron nitride. But the issue is that there are so many, we call them low-hanging fruit here. Materials has been developed for a while, but it's never been fully utilized for the industry here. What we are doing is we try to make this lab space material and technology fully apply to the industry, make them to some real impact here.
Good. And tell us about the development or discovery process, because like you said, this is not a new chemical necessarily, but it's the formulation, right? So tell us about it.
Yeah, like I would just add for a background, like first try, we are not applying to the semiconductor part. We just apply to HVAC.
Yeah, this is our startup experience here.
Okay,
so,
good.
We know that the good story is like you figure out the problem figure out the problem and then find a solution. But for PhD, especially like us, we pretty much have our own thesis, like project here too. We thought we were solving the problem, but scientifically we're working on the solution, but we don't really study about the market here. So we don't know if this is a real problem. So we actually joined the I-Corps by NSF. Which help us, we conduct over 150, now it's like 200 already, customer interviews. So we talk with, our original market is actually HVAC. So thermally conductive and also anti-corrosion, good protection can be applied as protective coating for the HVAC too. That's our original idea.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
So it's literally for heat exchangers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the original part.
Got it.
But we actually talk with a lot of big firms and friends, and also very individual customer. I asked my friends who have a AC household there. How often do you change your AC things? How often do you maintain it? I even check with the RICE facility manager here. They mentioned that maintenance is required. Like for the RICE one is They do that at 4 times a year. But what they change is not about the corrosion part. What they care is the rubber, like the very small component that easily to be worn out here. So corrosion is not as huge problem as we expected before, especially for the HVAC part, the AC part. And for those individual air conditioning, the maintenance is even lower. The frequency is even lower compared with that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't even change my air filter.
See, you don't see the problem too, right? Probably it give you a little bit extra. You pay a little bit higher for the electricity bill, but you don't really care about that.
Okay, so I'm gonna upset a lot of people. I paid $6 for electricity last week. Like, it's just not worth my time to like worry about this problem because we use
you keep it really hot.
Keep it really warm. Yeah, that's the solution.
At 29 degrees.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but so part of this is you ended up in the market because you did the I-Core program, and for those who don't know, I-Core is probably one of the best programs for people transitioning out of academia to understand how to get into in front of customers. But it's just good for startups. I believe it's anyone who's done an SBIR or STTR is also eligible.
It's different.
Oh, it's different?
You have to have I-Core first.
Oh, you have to have I-Core first now. And I-Core came out when I was just starting like 10 years ago. So the rules have changed. Or rather, I think they figured out where it's valuable is changed. And so it's a fantastic program, I would say, for anyone who's trying to figure out if they should be an entrepreneur because you can learn it. I think that's the moral of the story, right?
And they give you money.
And they give you, how much money do they give you?
They give you $50K.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing, but like it's
for
the very early stage, it's still something.
It's something when you're not making any of this.
Yes. It's always good for, free money for travel and business travel. Ooh, it's good.
Yes.
And like make connection around the whole US. So it's fantastic. And thanks, I-Core. So we have that chance to fly to New York, fly to Orlando, and like San Fran. Yeah. So and also like dig out our market. And so after the HVAC, and we just maybe it's not a good like a market target, and we just think about like other applications, and then Tianshu just make a connection because he has lots of friends in California that work in Silicon Valley.
Science, they code every day.
Yeah, coding and something like that. And Tianshu said, maybe we can change to like the semiconductor, like a data center heat thermal management. And then I just, I have the experience. Like that.
So why do you think it wasn't obvious to you that was the first place to go? Because usually people, like the data shows that people will always want to start companies in markets they're already familiar with.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what brought it back for you?
Back to the
like why didn't you go there first personally?
First to
the silicon and the chip.
Silicon, yeah. I would like to say like because I'm familiar with the whole like semiconductor industry, like because typically people work in like a TSMC, and I also worked before like a few years ago, also working TSMC, but it's for like a front end. If you just deep go into semiconductor industry, there is a front end and back end, and front end is kind of a TSMC, and the product is kind of a 12-inch wafer, like a pizza, but the back end part is for like the sliding and into the small pieces and advanced package that is a back end. And fortunately, I have the least two kind of the experience also. So like the whole including the front end and back end, I have the whole experiences. So I mean, I'm familiar with the whole like semiconductor industry, and I know kind of the advanced packaging is sexy topic, and our material is unique, and it's boom like the boom. Yeah. So that's applying to kind of a industry semiconductor to help them to develop new like material.
I'll save him here a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's how the team work here.
Yeah.
So, because I mentioned we have the project first, and it was the original target is for HVAC here. That's what that's why we start with HVAC here.
Yeah.
But the I-Core told us because the market doesn't really need this kind of things, and this problem is not as serious as we expect before. And the way we go all the way to a change from HVAC to semiconductor because of a laptop here.
Yeah.
My laptop was making huge noise at that time. And then I check with my co-founder and also other people with like, especially people who use computer a lot, like computer science, like people. I asked them like, oh, how often do you feel your computer overload, like heated here? And they mentioned if you open a lot of tabs, then you have the issue. Yes. And then we found that, and then I checked, because at that time is right when ChatGPT actually come out here. It's getting really high. And it's like, okay, cool. How about like ChatGPT and AI here? And they mentioned for AI, it's going to be another more serious problem, because even your laptop, they cannot afford a lot of like work there. For those AI job, it's actually finished by the data center, like at the very end part here. And then I checked with my co-founder, you actually worked in semiconductor before, and how's the packaging material? You understand about that part. The issue working in the huge firm here is that they train you to work onto something very specific. So you're only familiar with the part they assign you to do it. But he has background. So we have the sources to dig into this area. We found, heat management is an issue. And material size, we understand what that material, what kind of material they're using right now, and we know what's the advantage for our material benchmarking with them. I was like, okay, that could be a potential market here. Then we joined all the semiconductor conference all over the US here. The Big Five, we already attended already. So talk with different people and check if it is a huge issue. And do some background and surveying work here. We found that's how we actually finally find the market here.
Good. And I think this is a good underscoring of like a classic challenge with hardware is like you're kind of stuck with the physics you understand, but the world is so large in terms of places you can solve problems that it's not necessarily the market you first think of, but you got to do the research, you got to go out, and you will find the place where you can create the biggest value. And I think people describe it as a pivot in hardware, but the technology is the same. You're just figuring out where you can make the most money, and it's good to figure it out at the front end. Very different from software. Where in software, usually people see a business challenge or a market challenge, and then they figure out what technology they need to bring in later. And not everyone like operates that way. And I think that's why it's important to do things like iCore early and figure out your customer early, because you're going to invest so much in building the stuff, like the supply chain and things like that around your product. You'll be too far along the wrong, path for you to really do a pivot later, so to speak. And so it is so important to really take that time at the first stage where you think you have an idea, do the thing, talk to 200 people. And I'm sure like now that you have the experience in knowing how to interview people, the next time you do this, the next time you explore market, you're going to realize, I can do this with 10 interviews or 15 interviews. Because now you'll know when things line up and what questions ask. Is that your experience?
Like at the first time they push you to do the 200, because none of us have any business background. We're all PhD students here. They push us out of our comfort zone, so you don't feel shy and you know the basic tricks to talk people, like cold call, email, things like this. And after that, you will see like, maybe those people are our rock stars, and we can pay more attention on specific people here. We know which kind of customer interview is more valuable to us. And every time we had one thing I learned from iCore is that first, two things actually, write down everything, keep everything locked. And the other thing is like, bring a problem, have your problem first, and then have your customer interviews. Don't like ask for random things, because it's less effective, less efficient.
They need something to react to almost, right? Good.
So in that case, like, what was your problem? Like, what were you going and telling these customers?
When
we had these interviews,
Yes. So that's one of the tricks we learned there too. So first of all, people are in general willing to talk about themselves here. So what we do is like, what's your job? And we're interested in your like daily work life here. And then I'll ask them like, what's your top 3 problems you encounter during your work here? And I'll see if my problem can actually fit in here, because my keyword is easy. Semiconductors and heat management, right? Those are the 2 things. If they have something cool, then we'll have a huge conversation. Then I feel if they don't, I'll kindly brought like, have you, what about the heat management issue? Have you actually, have your company has this issue here, or have any R&D spend on this part? And for the problem part, in general, one is for the heat management, and then we can break down into different things. For example, I think Jason see my ecosystem, the huge map for semiconductor too. We don't know that before. The value chain for semiconductor is very complex and ultra finely segmented, and we don't know any of them. So we have to collect all the puzzles here, talk with suppliers, and talk with the then from the conversation they probably mentioned, we have the regulation tools and the design house, and with all the information we can finally figure out what's our role here, what's our value propositions, and the whole ecosystem for the semiconductor community here.
And what's kind of maybe unintuitive for people who haven't done this is like in some ways there's only so many people who know this information. It's going to be consultants, it's going to be you guys, and you know it takes work to go build that map, but it's not impossible. Right? And I think when we reflect back on like what does this mean for the energy transition and other people in our ecosystem who want to make that leap, some of it's just like you got to get out and do the grind, you got to call people, and then you build your own map, and some of it is untrodden, like maybe no one has had to do it. The silicon industry itself has a lot of consultants looking at it, so there's probably maps you can tap into, but especially in these markets, like there is value in kind of putting it together for yourself and figuring out where you want to put things. But you did this while you're earning a PhD, while winning a competition. So if you guys can do it, other people can do the work is kind of what I'm trying to get at.
We have zero background of business. So every entrepreneur, if we can do that, you guys can do that.
So tell us about that journey then, going from iCore, doing these 200 interviews and figuring out exactly the details of like what market you're going to address. Then how did you go about in building a prototype and building that solution?
Yes. So one thing, Jason, sorry for the pronunciation here. Jason's so big here. His name is keep brushing my hair. Yeah. So we're a material scientist and we have the materials expertise, and we know we pretty much know everything about our materials, and for the final product, it's just a different formation of that one here. We have our lab scale prototyping for the HVAC before, is like coding things. And then when we know for the packaging, we just dig into the technology wise, what kind of machine the industry are using for that. It's like molding. So for us, even though we don't have the specific facility and the machines here to make the lab scale, but we know what mechanism they share the same, we can start with the lab scale here. Prototyping, to be honest, is not a huge issue for us because that's what we're being trained for the past 5 years for the PhD. Know the material, know the problem, know the qualities and performance they want to evaluate, then we can design the prototyping here. Yeah, so I would thank Rice and my PI for this part. They have a huge support. Even the Ion Center, they give us space for that one. Yeah, and with the extra money, we got to purchase our own prototyping tools here.
Good.
Yeah,
and I think that's being a classic entrepreneur, getting other resources from other people. What do they call it? Other people's money. I think that's the important thing. Good. And I'm just looking at the clock here. Tell me, actually, Tianqiu, you were in California last week fundraising, right? So tell us about like what that journey is like, and how what it means to be fundraising out of Houston.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, in Houston? Okay.
Well, and the reason is there's a reason why you flying elsewhere.
Yes.
Right? So tell us about it. Yeah.
So I love Houston. Yeah. But I think for the investor and the VC part, still New York and California, they are more mature compared with Houston. Houston's growing. That's the good part. That's why we all choose to stay in Houston too. But getting some VC from California can actually give us some networking with the local part, because design houses are still there, right? And those are the key players. If you want to change the materials, there's no way you can skip the design house, like Intel, NVIDIA, they make decisions here. So VCs here, they have more channel working with the local design house here. That's why we decide to figure out the potential opportunities there. We talked with several VCs, and because we tried to raise next year. Now it's like very early stage talking, but we also brought our problem when we were talking here. So, a lot of them, they care about non-dilute funding too. That's one thing we're working on right now, which makes sense. It's more like a confirmation from the government here, right? It means your technology is solid enough. And after that, I would see the difference. I think for the Bay Area VC, they're more open-minded, as I said. I'm not sure if I'm using the correct word here. They have a lot of experience working with hardtech, and they're more familiar with the hardtech incubation here. It takes time here. It's not like small business. You can have fast investment and you can take some money back here. Especially for semiconductor, it takes a little bit of time. And they also have the channel here for us to benefit, because what we value most is the piloting test. With that one, we can have conversation with Intel and NVIDIA. That's a key thing we're going to have our final like dream customer here getting the board.
For Silicon Valley, the semiconductor industry is very mature and the whole ecosystem there. But I would just say we are a big fan of the Houston. And also is thanks for the opportunities. Thanks for Nexus, and everything is good for here. And also we feel like the Houston is our home. And we plan to just set our headquarters here and start here. And we already built a lot of connections and then working here. And also we have the lots of the resources to support us. And also thanks again for Rice and Dr. Low and helped us a lot. So Houston is the first priority. I would say best choice for us to set a headquarters. Although Houston do not have the lots of the semiconductor chain, but it's still perfect for us to develop here.
We don't see Houston as Houston itself. When we see Houston, we consider Austin and Dallas together. It's like a group here. So Austin already have a lot of foundry there building up. It's a good platform for us. And for us, Chen-Yang mentioned for semiconductor, they have front end and back end. Front end is like design part. And we're more like a back end, so the packaging part. And back end is not really in California, mainly Arizona and Austin.
Oh yeah, they're doing a lot of the programs.
They're dumping money there. So for a headquarter part, we're a program from Rice, and in the future we still need some collaborations. That's why we decided to base in Houston, and that's how all the resource and networking we're having so far. And for startup focus on the back end, there's no need to move in California. It's not smart.
Here. No, and I'm sure it's Silicon Valley, because they used to make silicon back down there. They still have the design houses, so you'll obviously be traveling there a lot. I'm curious, do you interact with the old TI community here?
OTI,
Texas Instruments. So they used to make all these they were such a. The reason Austin has a lot of technology is because TI grew up and built things there. And I don't know about you guys, but my calculator.
That's always the first instrument we know about TI. TI 84. That's one we use here. Yeah, I think right now they're not very competitive for packaging right now. Right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's still a good, very great company, and maybe maybe in the future it's our custom.
Yeah, we have we had a talk with one of their VC with the packaging part. It's just because for startup you have to have a beachhead market, and for us we need to figure out. We know it's chip, but which specific kind of chips you want to apply your material on. So talking about that, then we think it's a need based issue here. I think the chips in charge of a packaging part is not that highly workload sensitive here, which means it doesn't generate that much heat. For the AI one, still TI, I don't think has the capability to packaging.
They have a different niche. I mean, the calculator never gets hot.
Yes,
so.
they the workload's different. They don't have AI inside for the calculator. Maybe in the next generation, they have some R&D probably. We'll see.
So you've been part of many competitions recently. You were at the Rice Business Plan competition, at the Rice Liu Lab, and probably others, right? So tell us about that journey of what you've learned and how having that kind of prepares you to go out there and pitch for VCs and what it's really like to be a startup is mostly you're just pitching all the time.
Yes. That's one of the reasons I really enjoy the Houston community here. I would say 4 months. No, now it's 3 months ago. We know nothing about startup here. I was lucky. I got elected by the Lilly Innovation Fellow cohort this year. And what they do is they train us how to be an entrepreneur and how to have a really fine-tuned pitch deck here. Not one. You have to have multiple, right?
Yep.
At the end, we pretty much learn everything from there. What we think that we really enjoy this 3-month competition. It's very busy. I put on 10 pounds. I'm a stress eater.
Yep.
And but this 3 months, first of all, it pushed me to have a better understanding of my startup. What's the business model and what's the financial projections? What kind of problem? What's the final products you want to do? And who's your customers? I pushed myself to do that. Previously, we had the iCore last year, but we only have the puzzle here again. This whole competition push us to collect everything and make them into a good story. And the other takeout is collaboration with teammates here. We have 3 co-founders. One is based in Bay Area, and that's why we were there too. We meet regularly in person to work on the prototyping and some more discussion, further discussion here. He's very smart, a CTO guy, antisocial. The team dynamics here, but it's good. Like we're very supportive during the competition. My CTO flew all the way to Houston from Bay Area and stayed here for several days. Great fun, and I think there's one example. We got first place for the RBPC qualifier, but for the big competition, we think we did a good job, but we didn't really get into the second round. It's typical. Like investor probably think different way than entrepreneurial CEO think here. It's always good for us to have a chance to put ourselves in their shoes too. That's a very good experience we take here. And I think my co-founders see the little bit like disappointing on my face here, and they was like, okay, we still have chance. We have they have a reviving site. A wild card round here. We still got chance here, and it was like staying all night up, work on the deck here. They just try a lot to help me like finish everything and have feedback for all the comments from the judges here. The whole, even though we didn't go that far, but the whole experience and working with the teammates here is very rewarding, and I would say is very full of joy.
Yeah.
And like it is also very good. Although like the RBPC in the final, like we didn't got it like the big prize in RBPC's final, but it's always good for us to revise our deck and also like to prepare for the questions and Q&As and it's really helpful for us to get like an ILC and it works. We got first place, and we feel like the lots of things, and also put our shoes on like the VC's part and what is they're caring about and what we can just, how do we just definitely answer the right question and like help the VC to figure out what we did and what kind of our plan and business model and everything. So it's always a very great chance to pitch.
We're all learning. That's that's a really joyful part.
It helps you refine your story, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what you're selling. It's your story.
And I think that's like it's hard because on the one hand, it's sort of like it feels like a popularity contest when you get up there, and it's like I got 7 minutes to impress people, and it's so hard to justify or to explain the whole breadth of the business you're going to build. And a lot of people will vote with their just intuition of a market or intuition of a dynamic, because they're never going to become the experts you are. But on the other hand, it's a really good indicator because you do need to be able to do the storytelling. You need to get up there and pull people with you. And so it's one of those things where it's like you love it and you hate it a little bit in terms of what it represents. But it's important to get up there and practice, just like phone calling to call customers. You have to get up there and practice like pitching constantly. And
it's not really about winning, right? Because it's really about getting.
Let's get the cash.
Which is good, but you still get to be in front of so many people, right? You get that feedback. Like I remember when you guys presented, and even if it wasn't in the finals, it was in the smaller room. We got to ask you questions, and we remember that. And there's so many people who got to interact with you from there.
I think the reason we did a pretty good job. This is our first trial, so we're very happy with the results here so far. Because we don't have any expectation before I joined the competition here. I know I'm a little bit procrastinator. That's really bad for an entrepreneur, but I'm improving. I like that one. It's also a way to improve yourself here too. The entrepreneur roadmap here. The reason why I started the competition is that I tried to have my very first version of pitch deck first, but then we got lucky, or because this AI is a huge issue, everybody knows that, and we have the technology, so we somehow get a lot of. We make into the final round or something. I was like, oh god, it's getting real.
Yeah.
And we were representing rice. Then you feel the burden and the responsibilities here. So, oh wow, that month is crazy. Like we've been working every day on the pitch deck pretty much, and it's totally different. Like we know some judges who actually see our qualifier before, who also ends up in the final round. They mentioned like, oh, your deck is totally different. I couldn't imagine you still have so much improvement in the short time here. And the good thing is like we learned so much within that month. I never expect that before.
Yeah. Good. No, I think the data shows that accelerators that are intense, like back to back to back, you get a lot more improvement in kind of the storytelling than things that are spread out over a long time. And that's your experience. Good. Well, when we think about, so you're talking a little bit about Houston, you're going to be here in Houston. You guys are still students though, right? Like, so like when are you actually like graduating? What's it like being, because to be honest, like there's not a lot of Houston students who decide to do the startup. I think we talked about Rwanda a little earlier who did that. You're kind of a rarity in the Houston ecosystem.
Yes.
So, but it's changing. So tell us about what that's like.
Yeah, that's the key word. It's changing.
Yes.
There's a reason why there aren't many student entrepreneurs in Houston before. I think both environment and resources way. We're lucky. Right now, both Rice and Houston, they're trying so much, spending a lot of efforts to foster the entrepreneur environment here. I'm graduating by the end of this December, and after that, I'll be working full time for the company here. Chen-Yang still have one and a half year, but this is also part of his thesis defense here. So he will have a lot of energy spent on this part. And one thing about PhD is, if you're in a very supported PI's group, your schedule is kind of flexible. So you can make your own schedule here. Chen-Yang will have a lot of energy spent on the company too. That's the next year plan here. For Rice, it was not famous for startup before. We know the big one is like Synergy, our big brother, and Rowan, and it's growing really fast. And also DexMac, the CNT material group too. So other than that, there isn't that much. Or others like biomedical area too, because it's next to TMC. That's the reason. Mainly reason is the harness to work with the OTT. The tech transfer issue, the tech transfer office here. They're doing their job. I think at that time, their major priority is not to promote a startup from university. But now they're changing. They actually have replaced all the people who work in the office before. And with another group of people who is more experienced in the startup and tech transfer part, we got some good deals to transfer our patent out. That's one thing you have to have for a startup company initiating from the university. You have to transfer your patent out first. And that's something we need to finish before our fundraising too. So that's the top priority we're doing right now.
And also we just look for like we also hear some like the very good opportunities like the Activate. And it's typically it's just only 3 sites like the New York and
Bay Area, Boston. And there's a Zoom one thing, right?
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
And like this is the first Activate in Houston. So money is important. And so we are planning to apply like this funding, and we know like it's kind of like a chance, and also it kind of the opening. Like if Activate the least and successful, and I believe other like the organizations or other foundations will just continue to invest more money in Houston. And like the Texas is kind of a sky rock, like a flying like a
that's a rock star.
Rock star. So I feel like it's good like to have these chances here. And
I think for HEXASpec and also Texas, the thing we share in common is that we're all growing really fast. That's the key thing. I can tell from the past year, I can feel the difference, especially for entrepreneur here. There are so much resources getting dumped into the entrepreneur area. And now we're lucky we have the access to those one, and it's really helpful.
Yeah, and it's really to like the credit Rice and Lily with Kyle and Brad now at with the Alliance, like that. This is years of work in the making, but now regularly we're getting good quality startups coming through the program in a way that just didn't exist 4 or 5 years ago. And so as much as like I think we're doing our part, Houston, the academic organizations need to produce kind of companies because you guys have real deep technology in a way. So I'm glad we're here to be along for the ride, to be honest. We get to see you guys.
Well, we're glad you're there with us here too. Because I think one thing I learned most from the ETN here is that the entrepreneur community is very important. Like entrepreneur helps entrepreneur. What I've been doing, because I'm PhD, I don't have any background in this area. For the teaching part, I'm learning from all my entrepreneur fellows here. A lot of them, they didn't make it to the final startup. They have experience to share with us here. What's the part you need to pay more attention, avoid that. That's how, honestly, like for the pitch competition, they're the huge reason we can make so far here. They pretty much help us furnish all the pitch deck and share, that's the part you need to improve. We've been pitching in front of them for so many times here. Nithu, Bo Wong, they very good friends. And right now, for us, we're stepping to a next stage. So like out of university, it's a different story. And they mentioned like, that's pretty much I can help you so far. You need to figure out someone else to help you here because I don't have experience for that part. And that's the community, why community is very important here. We're also learning from others here.
Good.
That's really good to hear because I know that's been Jason's vision, and he's always talking about that with the Energy Tech Nexus. Is in places like Silicon Valley, you have the Y Combinator, you have all these other communities, and Houston needs more of those because we're a bigger city and we're growing, like you said, just like HEXASpec.
So because you're students, I assume you guys don't leave campus that much. So usually we ask like, what are the hidden gems? But I'm gonna ask you, what's a hidden gem of Rice Village? I hope you guys have been over there.
The gems, like
something that's like
something you like in Rice Village that you go to.
Actually, we travel a lot.
Oh, you do? Okay, where do you like to go to?
So in Houston, that's one thing. I used to stay in Chicago area. Okay, not Chicago City, but it's called Champaign University there. It's boring, but I never need to drive for my past 5 years. My first 5 years in US here. I moved to Houston in 2018. And I got my car right after the first year. I was like, I really need a car. Because my life is so hard. Houston's too spread out. That's one thing we like about Houston. A lot of people complain that Houston is boring and I don't know how to explore the city. But to be honest, I think there are tons of good food, especially Asian food here. Very good.
Right. Do you have a good recommendation? We want a Chinese and then we want a Taiwanese.
We have so much.
I want to know what the best boba is. Different question. Where do you like to go for Chinese food here?
Oh, Chinese food here? It depends because Chinese is a huge place, right? We have so many different categories. And for dim sum, like Cantonese one, I normally go to Feng's Kitchen and also Ocean Palace. Those are the two places I can go. If you want some really authentic part of Cantonese, not the real Cantonese part, we call them Chaoshan Cai. It's called Jiufu. It's in next to H Mart here.
Nice.
We just hang out there last week.
In Katy?
No, H Mart.
In where is it? In Chinatown by Belair.
Yeah,
because there's an H Mart in Katy. Not the fake one.
Katy has a lot of huge place too. A lot of good boba tea is actually in Katy. So don't blame the city because if you spend a lot of effort, time to explore the city, there are tons of parks. Good bar area too, good food, and the living is pretty reasonable here. That's why we actually enjoy the life here. The only complaint is the weather, but I've been to some really cold places before. I know I cannot stand that one. It's the reason that actually drives me all the way to south here. I can handle heat better.
So, and what's I do want to know what the best boba place is, if you have an opinion.
Best boba? I would say
it depends on flavor too. If you like really strong tea flavor, I suggest you to go to Tea Top. I go to Tea Top. I got green jasmine tea with the milk foam. no ice, 30% sugar. That's my thing.
What do you
And
think?
like T-top is good. I just say, TNC is good, like the guide to suggest to Bubati. And also T-top is, they run a business in Taiwan, so it's real
I know.
Taiwanese.
Yeah,
like,
it's the OG.
Really?
yeah. And for like the restaurant, like Tainan Bistro, and we also have Tainan is
Okay.
part of the in Taiwan, and yeah, that is authentic, and also kind of
that's
Tao
the
rice. Tao
rice
is-
roll thing.
yeah,
for,
rice
for
roll.
breakfast. Yeah.
That is also authentic, I would say. And like back to Houston, and I just earned like the master's degree in 2018. That is a year, Tiansu's year. So we didn't met each other at that time. And after that, I back to Taiwan and starting work, including TSMC and like the PTI. And when I back to Taiwan, I'm so miss the Texas barbecue and like Houston. I really miss the Houston, like the everything. I would say Houston is kind of my second home. Yeah. I miss so much, and that time I applied back to PhD, and thanks Doctor to pick me up, and I back here, and like someone just say, oh, you just leave your comfort zone, and I feel like I back to Houston, kind
Go
of back to
his comfort zone
comfort
again.
zone.
Back to comfort. Yeah.
So it's always like the great, and I love Houston's a lot. Like here is good, and also Asian food is amazing. Like among the whole US, I believe.
Yeah.
My co-founder is a huge meat lover.
Yeah.
Carnival. And,
No, you guys are great promoters of Houston. We need to bring you on more.
So does that mean you like Korean bulgogi? Or?
bulgogi. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a
That
good
is
one. If you want a good Korean food, go to Sogondong. They should give me fees for that one. Commercials, right?
Promoting.
Yeah, I promote it here.
I think we need to have a list that goes with this podcast.
I know,
of
I
all,
can
share
the,
with you.
all the great
Yeah,
recommendations. Yeah.
Actually, on the way, we didn't expect it so far here. So I know it's somewhere around IKEA, but it's like a little
beyond
bit
IKEA.
further than that one. And I was like, okay, so maybe we can go to Sogondong for Korean lunch. If we're here already, right? Let's get the food here.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
awesome.
So those are the hidden gems. You can find them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
There are many.
There are many.
there's so many. Don't restrict in Ryson Village.
okay,
there are
fine.
more.
Yeah.
There's life outside the loop.
Yes.
I think that's the moral of the story.
Yeah, I think for you, if you want to love Houston, you gotta explore more. Like there's so many parts for you to explore here.
Yeah. When you think about the ecosystem, have there been any gaps you've come across, like either within Rice or within the broader district, where there just wasn't a resource you were looking for?
Oh, can you read it?
Like, are there any gaps in like the innovation support networks, like in terms
gaps
of
with-
in
resources that you wish you had?
Oh yeah. So as I mentioned, we're the key thing is we're looking for a packaging company have the capability to package to manufacture real chips here. That one I think in Houston we don't have one so far. That's why we're also reaching out to find the resources because that's a key milestone we're gonna finish before that one.
And it's kind of a missed opportunity because like Biden and the administration has said like chip manufacturing is a strategic importance for the U.S.
Yes.
And, we don't have the talent here, but it wasn't necessarily, I don't think there was any discussion about even bringing that kind of manufacturing to Texas even, to be honest.
Talking about the CHIPS Act here, we know that university and industry, they're getting some, for the first round, they already get their money already. So unfortunately, Houston doesn't get that much for the first round. UT and Texas A&M, they got a lot of money for the front end design here. And for the cooling part, UT Arlington has a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they actually work on the active cooling, so the very large scale water cooling things. What they do is they design like more efficient 3D printed data center racks here. That's how you put the GPU here. So different scale. We're working on the chip scale. They're working on the GPU scale here. And what we're trying to do is when we also join a lot of conference for the past few years. And we're also promoting our Houston and Rice to them. And we think we have the capability to join this part, especially for the material size. That's why Rice is famous, because we have the Nobel Prize winner for the fullerene things. That's pretty much the start of nanomaterial synthesis. That's the reputation we have here. And even before I came to US for school, I know Fuller. I don't know rice. I know fullerene already. It's the first lecture for the chemistry. Like you know the buckyball thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any way that our audience can help you? Do you have an ask as you're shedding onto your company?
Yes. We have our website and linking here. We update regularly every week to gain some tractions. So feel free to follow us. And if you have any questions or you're interested in the semiconductor area, heat management, feel free to shoot us a question here on there. We're really willing to help. Right now, we're still very early stage, so we're still gaining attention here. And one thing about this podcast is I think Nada and Jason mentioned that it's a good chance to let the audience know about ourselves here. What we've been doing for the past few months, we're talking about the HEXASpec. And here we're talking about ourselves here. We're talking about the food, our life in Houston. I think it's a very good chance to show our personality.
Thanks so much. Like also Nexus is like the great opportunity, and thanks for like operation and just founding this platform. And it's a great opportunity for us to expose here, and definitely we believe and we expect to have more chances to hang out with other members and also in Nexus and other activities. Thanks.
We're growing together too.
Yes,
good.
we are.
Good. No, glad to have you here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thanks
you
for
very
the
much.
invitation.